Breathing in, I become aware of the present moment. Breathing out, I know this is a wonderful moment. Present moment, wonderful moment. In, out, deep, slow, calming, smile, release, present moment, wonderful.
Thay, it is good to see you again. Thank you for coming and talking with us for a second time with Friends of Vietnam Heritage. Friends of Vietnam Heritage is an informal group of Hanoi's residents, both diplomatic, expatriate, and Vietnamese, who enjoy to help preserve and enhance Vietnam's culture and history. And we're very proud to have you join us tonight with this talk. I'm very pleased to introduce Thay for the second time on this trip. This is a trip that is a most amazing trip. This is a first time in 40 years that he has been back to his homeland, and we welcome him. So please enjoy, and thank you.
Good evening, distinguished friends. We shall begin by asking the monastics to offer a chant. In the Buddhist circle, we like to evoke the name of the Bodhisattva of deep listening. Avalokiteshvara is his name. And when we chant his name, we touch the seed of compassion in us. If you are able to listen to someone with a heart of compassion, you will help relieve a lot of suffering in him or in her. And that is why the Bodhisattva of deep listening, Avalokiteshvara, Quang is considered to be a most distinguished teacher and practitioner. And while we practice chanting, we try our best to touch the energy of compassion and understanding in every one of us. so that we can create a collective energy of compassion that will be able to penetrate into each one of us. So please participate. Let us be truly there in the here and the now, relax, and allow our body, our mind to be penetrated by the energy of the Sangha, the energy of the Bodhisattva, of deep listening. If you have pain and pressure and stress in your body, and allow it to be recognized, embraced, and transformed by the energy of the Bodhisattva. And if you have suffering in your heart, pain in your heart, open your heart so that the energy could go in and help transform it. And if you have someone who is close to you and who is very sick and who suffers a lot and who is not able to come tonight, you might like to channel that energy to him or to her by thinking of him or of her, or by calling his or her name silently, and then the energy will be transmitted to him or to her. In order to do that, we should be fully present in the here and the now and allow our body and our mind to relax.
Đâu cần dương liệu vương cam lộ, một giọt 10 phương rưỡi cũng đầy. Bao nhiêu trần lụy tiêu tan hết, đàn tràng thân tịnh ở ngay đây. Nam mô Bồ Tát Thân Lương Địa, Nam mô Bồ Tát Thân Lương Địa, Nam mô Bồ Tát Thân Lương Địa. Trí tuệ bừng lên đóa biển tài, đứng yên trên sóng sắt trần ai. Cam lộ chữa lành cơn khổ, bền hào quang quét sạch bụi nguy tai. liệu biết phất bày muôn thế giới, sen hồng nở hé vạn lâu đài. Cúi đầu ca ngợi dâng hương thỉnh, xin nguyện từ bi ứng hiện ngay. Nam mô Bồ Tát Quan Thế Âm. Nam mô Bồ Tát Quan Thế Âm. Nam mô Bồ Tát Quan Thế Âm. Oh
Namo
American origin. He had been a teacher of English before he became a monk. The chanting lasted 18 minutes, and I hope that you feel better after chanting. Let us enjoy our breathing with the sound of the bell. Breathing in, I recognize life within myself and around me. Breathing out, I smile to life in myself and around me. Dear friends, in a practice center, every time we hear the bell, we go back to our breathing and establish ourselves in the here and the now, so that we be able to touch the wonders of life that are available in that moment. The wonders of life that are nourishing and healing, that are available only in the present moment. In the teaching of the Buddha, the human person is seen as composed by 5 elements: body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. And that is a huge garden. And we have to take care of our garden. In our garden, there are flowers, of course. But sometimes, from time to time, the garden produces garbage. And if you are an organic gardener, you will not be afraid of garbage, because you know how to transform garbage into compost in order to nourish the flowers. Flowers and garbage, they are both organic, and that is why transformation is possible, recycling is possible. Our love, our hate, our suffering, our happiness are also of an organic nature. A flower may be transformed into a piece of garbage, especially when we don't know how to handle the flower, how to keep the flower lasting long. And a piece of garbage, if we know how to handle, we can transform it back into a flower. The pain and the suffering that are in us are considered to be the garbage that we produce, that our garden produces. And if you know how to handle the suffering, the pain, the despair, the hate, the anger, the violence in us, we'll be able to produce flowers, the flowers of understanding, of love, of compassion, of peace. That is because love and hate, anger and compassion, they are also of an organic nature, transformable. In the Buddhist practice, we see that not only the flower is us, is a product of our garden, of our own garden, but we also see that the garbage as a product of our garden. And the practice is not fighting against suffering, fighting the garbage. The practice is to recognize the garbage, the suffering, to embrace it tenderly in order to transform it back into peace, into joy, into suffering. And the ground of the practice is a non-dualistic insight. Both garbage and flowers share the same ground, and they are both organic. And that is why practicing does not mean that you fight against suffering, you fight against anger, but you accept your anger, your suffering as they are, and you do your best in order to transform them back into love and happiness and well-being. Looking with that non-dualistic way, we see that the practice is a non-violent practice, because we are not fighting against anything, including our suffering, our anger, our violence. We are only taking care of them and help them to transform. In Buddhism, people speak of consciousness in terms of seeds. Listen, monks. We have a seed of anger in the depth of our consciousness. We have a seed of compassion also in the depth of our consciousness. We have a seed of happiness. We have a seed of despair. And that is why the lower part of our consciousness is called in Buddhism store consciousness, because that part of consciousness store all kind of seeds, wholesome and unwholesome. We have wholesome seeds like the seed of forgiveness, the seed of joy, the seed of tolerance, the seed of compassion, of understanding. And also you have the negative seeds, the seed of anger, of frustration, of despair, of discrimination, and so on. And our mind is considered to be like the earth, like a garden that hold and preserve all these kind of seeds. And every time a seed of suffering is water, it manifests itself into a kind of energy called mental formation. You have a seed of anger in yourself. And when that seed accepts to sleep quietly down there, and you are able to enjoy life, to smile, to have a lot of fun. But that does not mean that the seed of anger is not in you. But when someone comes and touch the seed of anger in you, water the seed of anger in you, and then the seed of anger will manifest itself in the upper level of your consciousness. It's called mind consciousness. Below it is store consciousness. Above is mind consciousness. So the seed from the depth of our consciousness manifests itself on the level of mind consciousness into a zone of energy, and that is the energy of anger. And if you are not a practitioner, you allow that energy to stay for a long time. And it helps the seed down there to grow bigger. Store consciousness is like the basement of our house. And mind consciousness is like the living room. And when the seed of anger manifests itself into the energy of anger, it manifests itself in the living room, in mind consciousness. And if you don't know what to do, and then it will stay there for a long time. And below, the seed of anger has a chance to grow. And that is why, as a practitioner, you have to do something in order to help that manifestation, that mental formation to go home to where it has come from, store consciousness, as quickly as you can. And the way is by inviting another seed to manifest, to recognize, to embrace, to take, to hold, and to transform. And the second seed is the seed of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the kind of energy that helps you to be fully present in the here and the now. Mindfulness is the energy that helps you to recognize what is going on in the present moment. And the practice of mindfulness is very crucial in dealing with anger and other kinds of afflictions. And in the practice center, the practice to generate the energy of mindfulness should be the basic practice. And you can do that all day long. Whether you are cooking, or driving, or gardening, or walking, or sitting, you practice generating the energy of mindfulness. And you make use of the practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking, mindful cooking, in order to generate that energy, the energy of mindfulness. When you breathe in, and if you breathe in mindfully, that is called mindfulness of breathing. You generate the energy of mindfulness while breathing in. And breathing in mindfully, you bring your mind back to your body. It does not take a long time. It may take only 5 seconds in order to bring your mind back to your body. And when your mind is back with your body, you are fully there in the present moment. You are fully present in the here and the now. It's very quick. One step taken in mindfulness, one in-breath taken in mindfulness is already able to bring your mind back to your body, and there you are fully present in the here and the now. And life is available only in the here and the now, because the past is already gone and the future is not yet there. So going home to the present moment is to have the opportunity to touch life deeply and to live your moments of the moments of your daily life deeply. So that is the first function of mindfulness, helping you to go home to the present moment in order to touch life deeply with all the wonders of life that are available in that moment. The second function of mindfulness is to help you to be aware of what is going on in the present moment. What is going on in the present moment is you are breathing in, or you are making a step, or you are drinking your tea, or you are watering your vegetable garden. Always practicing mindfulness to know what is really going on. And when you are angry, the practice of mindfulness helps you to go home to yourself and recognize the fact that anger is in you. Anger has come up as an energy in your mind consciousness from the seat of anger down there. Breathing in, I know that anger is in me. Breathing out, I smile to the anger that has just manifested in me. And that is called mindfulness of anger. Mindfulness is always mindfulness of something. You are mindful of your in-breath, of the tea that you are drinking, of the step that you are making. You are mindful of the anger that is manifesting in you. And in that moment, the energy of anger is still in you, but another energy is also present. That is the energy of mindfulness. And that is what I meant when I said that when the energy of anger is there, you have to do something. And that is to touch the seat of mindfulness and invite the energy of mindfulness to manifest. And with the second kind of energy, you recognize the first one, you embrace it, and that is the practice. Embracing anger with mindfulness help bring some relief. Anger is still there, but with the care of mindfulness, you are safe. You know that when you are angry, you should not do anything, you should not say anything, because doing something or saying something when you are angry may be dangerous. You may cause a lot of damage within yourself. You may cause a lot of damage in the person in front of you, and so on. So during that time, the practice of mindful breathing goes on, and you have enough of that energy of mindfulness in order to recognize, embrace tenderly and wholeheartedly the energy of anger. And you suffer less right away, even if the energy of anger is still there, because it is being taken care of by another kind of energy. And in the Buddhist circle, we speak of mindfulness as the energy of the Buddha. When the Buddha is there, you are safe, and you are able to invite the Buddha to be with you when you notice that anger has manifested in you. With the continuous practice of mindful breathing or mindful walking, you continue to generate the energy of mindfulness in order to embrace tenderly the energy of anger. There is no fighting, because you are mindfulness, but you are also anger. No dualistic thinking, no violence at all. There is a the energy of anger, and there is another kind of energy, mindfulness, that is taking care of the first kind of energy, like a big brother taking care of a young brother, like a mother taking care of her baby. There is no fighting at all. The practice is absolutely non-violent. You know, when the baby cries and suffers, the mother would stop working in the kitchen. She would go to the baby's room and pick the baby up and hold the baby tenderly in her arms. She does not know what is wrong with the baby yet, and yet the fact that she holds the baby tenderly in her arms already helped the baby to suffer less. And this is exactly what you do when you use the energy of mindfulness and hold tenderly the energy of anger in you. It needs some practice, some training, and it will become a habit, a good habit after a few days of practice. But don't wait until anger comes in order to begin the practice. Practice right here, right now, generating the energy of mindfulness, so that when you get angry, you'll be able to do it and to take care of your anger. And the practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking is wonderful. It's very healing, it's very nourishing. When you are home, in the present moment, and practice mindful breathing, mindful walking, you get in touch with many wonders of life that are available in the present moment. Very fresh, refreshing, very healing, very nourishing. And that is why the practice of mindfulness of breathing and walking is very, very helpful, very basic. It helps you to be ready to confront many negative things that may happen to you. If you are used to the practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking, if you are used to generating the energy of mindfulness, and then when anger manifests, you will remember to practice. You will go home to yourself and begin to practice mindful breathing, mindful walking, because you really need a kind of energy in order to take care of your anger. The mother, after having hold the baby for a few minutes, find out what is wrong with the baby. The baby may be hungry, the baby may have a fever. And after having found out what is wrong, the mother can deal with the situation very easily. The practitioner does the same. After having embraced tenderly the energy of anger with the energy of mindfulness, he or she will be able to look deeply into the nature of that anger and find out what is the root of it. It's very important to practice concentration and look deeply into the nature of our anger. Practicing mindfulness of holding anger can help bring relief, but is not able to transform completely the energy of anger. When you practice mindfulness, you realize that the energy of concentration is also present, because the energy of mindfulness always carries within itself the energy of concentration. When the mother holds a baby tenderly with mindfulness, she is concentrating on the baby. She is not thinking of other things, and that is why she is able to find out what is wrong with the baby. So while you are embracing mindfully the energy of anger, you concentrate on the anger. And with the energy of mindfulness and concentration, you look deeply into the nature of anger in order to find out what is the real cause, the real roots of that anger that make you suffer. It may be a wrong perception. And the Buddha said that most of our suffering comes from our wrong perceptions. And that is why it's very important to practice looking deeply. Looking deeply means to meditate. To meditate means to have the time to be there and to look deeply. And when you look deeply, you get the insight. In order for the practice to be effective, you should have enough of that energy of mindfulness and concentration in order for the practice of looking deeply to bear fruit and bring insight. Insight is the element that can transform the suffering. Usually when we get angry, we believe that our anger, our suffering has come from another person. We blame him or her for having made you suffer. The one who just said something, or who just did something that touched the seed of anger in you and causes the energy of anger in you to manifest. And you blame him or her as the main cause of your misery. And your anger at him or at her because you believe that he or she is the source of your discomfort, is the source of your anger, your suffering. And thinking like that, you want to say something very strong, very cruel, or to do something very strong, very cruel, to punish him or punish her. And you believe in a very childish way that if you can make him or her suffer, and then you can get a relief. But you know very well that if you say something very strong, very cruel, or do something very strong and very cruel, you make him or her suffer more, and she or he will also look for a relief, and they will try to say something even stronger and do something even more cruel in order to punish you, because they also believe that making you suffer, they will get a relief. And both of you will escalate anger and suffering. And many of us are intelligent enough to know that, and yet we behave like we don't know the truth. Every time we suffer because of anger, we believe that our suffering has been caused only by the other person, and if we can make him or her suffer, and then we will get a relief. We don't want an escalation of anger and of suffering. Therefore, we don't want to do that. That is why the practice is when anger manifests, we should not say anything. We should not do anything. what we say or we do, we believe that for us to get a relief, but they will cause more suffering. That is why we will refrain from doing things and saying things when anger has manifested in us. We go home to ourselves and practice mindful breathing or mindful walking to generate the energy of mindfulness. And with that energy, we recognize, embrace the energy of anger and look deeply into the nature of that anger. At least we can see that the seed of anger in us is a cause of our suffering. Maybe that seed of anger in us was not so strong 10 years ago, but now it has become so important. That person, you know that 10 years ago he was not that angry. And you don't know how he's now so angry. His seed of anger has grown a lot in 10 years. How come? Because he did not know the practice. And if your seed of anger has grown a lot, it means that you did not know how to practice. We have to practice in our daily life in order to prevent the seed of anger in us to grow day by day. And that is the practice of mindful consumption. When we have a conversation with another person, that conversation may contain a lot of violence and hate. And if you listen to that conversation, you ingest elements of violence and of hate into your consciousness. And that helps the seed of anger in you to grow. When you read a novel, when you read an article, or when you watch a television program, it may be that the toxin, the poisons of violence, of anger, is being taken into your body and your mind. And that is why mindful consumption is very important to prevent the seed of violence and of anger in us to be nourished every day and to grow. We should have a policy of consumption. We must determine to consume only the items that will not bring more violence and hate and anger into our consciousness, including films and books and magazines and conversations. Of course, there are beautiful films that can help nourish the seed of compassion, of love. There are books that can help water the seed of compassion, of understanding. But there are many books, many films, many kinds of articles and conversations that contain so much poisons, so much toxins. And if you don't know how to consume them mindfully, and then in 10 years, the seed of anger in us will grow 10 times, 100 times stronger. So we should have a policy of consumption as a person, as a family, as a community, as a nation. We should think of what film our children should watch, and what kind of films should not be consumed by our children. Because most of us feel empty within when we don't have anything to do, and we want to spend our time to fill up that kind of vacuum in us by consuming books and films and conversations and magazines. And it happens that many of the articles, many of the films and the books contain so much toxins, so much violence and hate and anger. And that is why mindful consumption is very crucial in helping reducing the amount of violence and anger in us. And that is an important part of practice. If you love someone, you should ask her to help you to practice. You should ask him to help you. Darling, you know that I have a seed of anger, of violence in me. Please, if you love me, if you really love me, please do not water that seed of anger and violence in me. I promise to do the same to you. I know that in you, darling, there is also a seed of anger, of violence, and I try my best not to water that seed in you. We have to sign a peace treaty between us and the person we love. We shall help each other by not watering the seeds of anger and hate and violence in him or in her. And help each other to consume mindfully so that we will not ingest the kind of items that will help the seed of anger and violence in us to grow. If we are head of a family, we should have a policy to protect the family by the practice of mindful consumption. And when we look deeply into our anger, the first thing we see may be the fact that the seed of anger in us has become too important, and that is the main cause. The other person who just said something, who just did something, is only a minor cause, a secondary cause. It is the seed of anger, of violence in you that is mainly responsible for the huge zone of energy of anger and violence that has manifested in you. So don't blame him or her for everything. We should, by our intelligence, by our insight, realize the fact that the seed of anger in us has become too important because we have not known how to handle, how to be able to stop it from growing every day. And if you look more deeply, you see that the other person you used to blame for your anger, for your suffering, he or she was also a victim of his or her violence and anger. That person has a lot of suffering, has a lot of pain in him or in her, a lot of violence also. And so far no one has helped him or her to deal with that amount of anger and violence in him or in her. So he has become victims. And he suffers because of that. And of course he makes the people around him suffer at the same time. He spills all over his own suffering. And because you are close to him or to her, you become a victim of his pain, his suffering, his despair also. If you continue to look, you see that his parents or her parents did not help him. And maybe they have done the opposite. They have watered every day the seed of violence and anger in him. So he began to be a victim since he was a little boy or little girl. She a little girl. And when you begin to see that, you don't blame him. You don't blame him or her anymore. So far, no one has helped him, told him how to handle the energy of violence and anger in him or in her. And you have a friend, you have a teacher who have told you how to handle the energy of anger and suffering. You know how to practice mindful breathing, mindful walking, how to recognize and embrace tenderly your anger. But that person does not know how to do that. And he becomes victims of his own anger, his own suffering. And of course, you have to suffer also. Because not knowing how to handle the suffering inside, he spills it out all over to you and to the people that are close to him or to her. And when you are able to see like that, anger in you will subside. And you don't have the intention to punish anymore. You don't have the intention to punish anymore. And you have now the intention to go home and help. And you know that the garbage has become a flower. In the beginning, you suffer and you had the intention to punish. But since you know the practice, you did not say or do anything to punish. You know how to go home to yourself and take care of the energy of anger in you. And when you practice looking deeply into the nature of your anger, you found out that your anger is born of that seed of anger that has been nourished by wrong perceptions, by unmindful consumptions. And that is why you find out that the other person needs help and does not need punishment. And the will to punish, the desire to punish is no longer there. Instead, you have the desire to go home and help him or her. And you tell yourself, I am very close to him, I am very close to her. If I don't help, who will help him or her? And suddenly the energy of compassion is born in your heart. A piece of garbage has been transformed into a flower. And if you are a skillful practitioner, that may happen in 5 minutes. 5 minutes of mindful breathing, mindful walking, and looking deeply. The energy of mindfulness, the energy of concentration, and the energy of insight. These three kinds of energies are capable of transforming the whole situation. This is a very easy practice to take up when you get angry. Try in a period of 24 hours to practice deeply the practice of mindful breathing and walking, embracing your anger and look deeply into the anger. If you are a skillful practitioner, you may succeed after half an hour or 2 hours. It depends on your experience of practice. But if you are not able to transform your anger, and then you have to let the other person know before the deadline of 24 hours. Because it's not healthy to keep that alone with you. And that is why you may like to tell him or tell her directly or on a piece of paper that you are angry at him or at her. You suffer very much and you want him or her to know it. I suggest that you take a piece of paper, like a name card, as big as a name card, and you write down that sentence. Darling, I suffer. I'm angry at you, and I want you to know it. The first sentence. And you may add a little bit more. I don't know why you have said to me such a thing. I don't know why you have done such a thing to me. Please explain. But that is the content of the first sentence. Darling, I suffer. I am angry at you, and I want you to know it. The second sentence is, I am doing my best. It means that I am practicing mindful breathing, mindful walking, embracing my anger, looking deeply. I am not like other people who try to punish, who try to say or to do things in order to get a relief by punishing. I am a real practitioner. I am trying my best in order to take care of my anger. But I might not succeed. When the other person hear or read that you are angry, that you suffer, he or she will ask the question as what he has done, what he has said in order to make you suffer that much. So he or she will have an opportunity to look back. And that is also the practice of looking deeply. And when he or she hear that you are trying your best to take care of your anger, in him or her, there will be a feeling of respect. And he will say, or she will say, oh, she is practicing. I have to practice also. I will look more deeply to see whether I have been responsible for her suffering, for her anger. But the foundation of that attitude, of that practice, is that you has inspired respect on his or her part. You show him or her that you are a real practitioner. You are really practicing. So that will inspire him or her to practice also. That is the function of the second sentence. And the third sentence, which is also the last, is, please help me. Please help me. Because I alone, I may not succeed in transforming this anger. Because we are committed to each other, to share each other's suffering and happiness. That is why, in a moment like this, I really need your help. It takes courage in order to write the third sentence. Because when you hurt, even when you get hurt, when you suffer, and when you suffer, you believe that your suffering has been caused by the person you love the most in the world. And then you get hurt even more. If another person has said that to you, has done that to you, you have suffered less. But it is him or her that you love the most in your life. That is why you suffer so much. And therefore you have the tendency to show that you don't need him, you don't need her. There is a feeling of pride within you that prevents you to ask for help. When you are so angry at him or at her, you don't want to ask for help. Because not asking for help, to be alone, showing him or her that you don't need help is a way of punishing. That person may come and ask you whether you are all right. You said, I'm all right. Whether you suffer, and you said, suffer? Why do I have to suffer? I'm okay. That means that you have a lot of pride inside. And if he come close to you and try to touch your shoulder, and you avoid him and you said, don't touch me. So pride is in you. And that is why it's not easy to write down the third sentence. But if you can bring yourself to write down that sentence, you suffer less right away. And I suggest that you write these 3 sentences on a piece of paper and put it in your wallet. And next time when you begin to suffer of anger, you take it out, and with your practice of mindful breathing, you reread these 3 sentences, and you know exactly what to do and what not to do when you are angry. It's very helpful. It's a bell of mindfulness in your wallet. In the case you have found out that your anger has no ground at all, it has come from your wrong perceptions, you have to telephone him right away. You have to telephone her right away and apologize. You email him. You send him a word as quickly as you can. And if you are the one who received the note, we call it a peace note with the 3 sentences, and then you are invited to practice. You are invited to look deeply and to see whether you have said something or done something that make the other person suffer so much. And if you find out, you are able to find out your unskillfulness. And then you have also let him or let her know right away and ask for his or her pardon. You have to excuse yourself. Use your telephone. Send her an email. And ask her to excuse you, to forgive you, as quickly as possible. In a relationship, we have to be very mindful. If the other person says something, does something that makes us irritated and not. In Buddhist psychology, we call it a internal formation. Internal formation, formation mentale. You might not suffer a lot, you can bear it, but the knot is always there. And if tomorrow the same thing happened, and then the knot will grow bigger and bigger. That is why it's not wise to allow the knots to be formed in you every day. You have to find out a time when you can talk with him or her about that. Darling, yesterday morning you have said that. and I have suffered. Please explain why. It is much easier to talk to each other and try to undo the knot in you. Don't let it stay there for a long time, because accumulated several times, it will become something difficult to be dealt with. So in a relationship, you have to be careful. If you have got a mental formation, a internal formation in you, you have to talk with him or her in order to undo the knot, to dissolve the internal formation. And that is why every week you should have some time to sit together and to practice what we call the practice of beginning anew, to see whether some internal formation has been formed, has been crystallized, introduced into your consciousness or not. And try your best as a couple, as partners, as friends, to undo the knot. It's very important. It's much safer to do like that. When it has become a big internal formation, it will be very difficult to deal with. If you are a friend of Avalokiteshvara, you would know how to practice deep listening, compassionate listening, in order to listen to him or to her. The practice of deep listening, the practice of compassionate listening, help the other person to empty her heart, his heart, and get a relief. He or she has accumulated so much suffering within himself or herself, and so far no one has been able to listen to him or to her, because every time that person tries to speak, his or her speech is always full of judgment, condemnation, blame, accusation, and always contain a lot of wrong perceptions. And if you are not trained in the art of compassionate listening, you are not capable of listening to him or to her. Because while listening to him or to her, the seed of anger, frustration, irritation in you can be watered. And when you become angry, irritated, you can no longer listen with compassion. And that is why in order to listen to him or to her, you have to train yourself first. And this is a very important practice to help the other person diffuse the bomb within himself or herself. He or she has so much violence within, and they look like a bomb ready to explode at any time. And that is why you are afraid. You try to avoid him or her. And that person thinks that you are boycotting him or her, and suffers even more. And that is why when you are able to practice bringing some peace and relief into your heart, you might look at him or her with compassion. Dear fellow, he has so much violence and hate and anger in him, and he does not know how to handle it. I got to help him. And helping him or helping her means to try to listen to him or to her with compassion. And you have to train with a teacher or with a friend in the art of compassionate listening for a few days at least. The techniques is to keep your compassion alive during the whole time of listening. You may listen to him or to her for 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. And if you want the listening to be fruitful, to be effective, you have to keep your compassion alive during the whole time of listening. And this is not so easy, because you yourself, you have the seed of irritation, anger, and some violence in you. And if these seeds are exposed to his speech, which is full of blaming, accusing, wrong perceptions, and then you lose your compassion, and you get angry, and you interrupt him, and you fail. And that is why some training is crucial. You have to remember during the whole session that listening like this, you only have one purpose: to allow him or her to have a chance to empty his heart, her heart. Because so far no one has helped him by doing so. In our modern society, psychotherapists are supposed to listen to you with compassion. But very often the psychotherapists do not have enough patience and compassion. He or she may have a lot of frustration and anger and violence in him or her. And that is why the quality of listening is maybe very poor. But if you really want to help him or her, you may train yourself, and after a number of days, you may do better than a psychotherapist, because you really want to help him or her. You really have compassion. And during the time of listening, you tell yourself that listening like this has only one purpose: giving him or her a chance to speak out, to get a relief. And if you remember that during the whole time of listening, you will be protected by compassion, and you will not get angry during the session of listening. And that is why we call it compassionate listening. You have that seed of compassion. Invite the seed of compassion to manifest, and keep that energy of compassion alive during 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes. And that you can do with some training. And if you listen, you can listen with compassion, and then even if his speech is full of accusation, blames, wrong perception, you are still capable of listening. You are now a bodhisattva, because in your heart compassion is alive. You can be bodhisattva because you have the seed of anger, but you have also the seed of compassion in you. And practicing for a number of days, the seed of compassion and understanding will grow strongly enough. And basing on that energy, you can begin the practice of listening deeply with compassion. And then you can learn the art of loving speech. in the last few days, in the last few years, you have not been able to use that kind of loving language to him or to her, because you have so much suffering in you. And when you look at his or her face, you are not happy. That is why it's so difficult for you to say something loving to him or to her. But after 1 week of practice, the teaching and the practice help water a lot the good seeds in you. The seed of compassion, the seed of insight, the seed of joy in you have been watered. And now you are able to practice listening to him or to her. With a calm mind, with compassion in your heart, you might like to say something like this: Darling, I know that in the last 3, 4, 5 years you have suffered a lot. I was not able to help you. Instead, I have made the situation worse. I'm sorry. I didn't want to make you suffer, but because I did not know the way, I have said things and done things that made the situation worse. And because of that, you have to suffer a lot because of me. I'm sorry. It's not my intention to make you suffer. I want you to be happy, but because I did not know the way, that is why I have made the situation worse. So please help me. Please tell me what is in your heart. I really want to know your suffering, your difficulties, your despair. And I really want to know about my unskillfulness so that I will not repeat the same thing in the future. Please, darling, would you help me? Without your help, I will not be able to do it. And that is the kind of language that we must use in order to open the door of his or her heart. Two years ago in Oldenburg, north of Germany, we had a retreat for 600 German people. And the retreat lasted 6 days. Every day there was a Dharma talk in order to water the seed of understanding, compassion. Every day we have a session of sitting meditation, a session of walking meditation. Every day we practice eating in mindfulness, brushing our teeth in mindfulness, doing things in mindfulness. We practice Dharma discussion in order to find out the ways to deal with our anger, to learn how to practice listening with compassion, using loving speech. And I remember on the eve of the last day, I asked people to, in the retreat, to do the work of reconciliation. Before midnight that day, dear friends, you have learned enough, you have practiced enough. The seed of understanding and compassion in you have been watered enough. Now it's time for you to put into practice. Talk to him, talk to her. Ask for his help, her help, and reconcile with him or her. And if that person is with you in the retreat, it's very easy, because the other person has also practiced with you. But if the other person is not there, is not here, and then you might like to use your portable telephone to talk to him or to her. And you have from now to midnight in order to do the job. And everyone was practicing. The next morning, after the morning sitting, 4 German gentlemen came to me and reported that last night they had been able to reconcile with their fathers just by using the portable telephone. They had practiced loving speech. They was able to open the door of the heart of their fathers, and now they have reconciled with their fathers just by using the telephone. And they told me that before the retreat, they did not believe they could use that kind of loving speech. But after having practiced 5 days, after having after the seed of understanding and compassion have been watered, they find out that using loving speech is possible. That is why they did not have any difficulty talking with their father using loving speech. I know that there were more people who had been able to reconcile with their fathers or mothers or spouse, but they were a little bit shy in order to report it to us. In a retreat in Hong Kong 2 years ago, I also asked retreatants to practice the same. And interestingly enough, there were ladies from Hong Kong who reported to me that they had been able to reconcile with their husbands just by using the telephone. And the practice of deep listening, compassionate listening, and loving speech are wonderful. They have helped countless couples to reconcile. They have helped father and son to restore communication, husbands and wife to restore communication, and transform the anger and the suffering, the violence into compassion, love, and happiness. One day in Plum Village, I gave an exercise for the practitioners in the upper hamlet. The upper hamlet in Plum Village was a place where monks lived with the laymen. There was a young American. He was a teacher of mathematics. The exercise given is everyone to write a love letter to his father and his mother. And they have 3 days in order to write that letter. That gentleman did not find any difficulty in writing a letter to his father. The way to write letter is first to jot down, to write down the qualities of the person you want to write a letter. What is wonderful about him or her. You write down all these qualities And then after having completed that exercise, and you base on these documents in order to write a love letter. And then if the father or the mother, if you are in difficulty with your father and mother, then you might like to begin with writing the negative things about him or her. What makes you suffer? And then you turn a page, after having finished, you turn a page and you write down the positives about him or her. And that gentleman did not have any difficulty with his father, but he did have difficulty with his mother. And in the beginning, he was very, not very sure that he can write a love letter to her, his mother. He thought that he may be able to write down 3 or 4 positive things about his mother. But after having practiced mindful walking for the whole morning, he sat down and he found out that more than he had imagined. He continued to write down the qualities, what is wonderful about his mother. And during the process of doing so, he found out that he has inherited many good qualities from his mother. And he needs many pages in order to write down what is wonderful about his mother. And after having finished that, he was very happy to begin his love letter. And after having finished the love letter to his mother, he was completely transformed. He did not have any anger. With his mother anymore, completely transformed. And he said the exercise helped him to rediscover a wonderful mother that he has lost. Just the exercise of writing a love letter. When you get angry at someone because something that you don't like about him or her, and that anger is too big that it prevents you to see all the other positive things in him or in her. And if you have enough time and calm, you can rediscover them, all these wonderful qualities about the person you are angry with. The exercise is not difficult at all. Everyone can do it. So he sat down and wrote a very wonderful letter to his mother, who lives in Washington, D.C. A few days later, his wife telephoned from Washington, D.C. and reported to him that his mother cried so much when she read his letter, and she said that she had rediscovered a wonderful son in him. This is a miracle. The son rediscovered his mother, and the mother rediscovered her son. And then his wife also said that the mother felt sorry that her own mother was not alive, was still no longer alive, so that she could write a similar letter to her. She regretted that her mother had passed away, because if she had been still alive, she was still alive, and then she would like also to write her a letter like that. And then after having heard that, our gentleman wrote another letter. And he said in the letter something like this: Mother, don't think that my grandma has died. She is still alive in every cell of my body and in yours also. So please go on and write that letter. I am sure that my grandma will read your letter. Mommy, write that letter. She will read it and I will read it, and my grandma in me will read it, because he had learned in Plum Village that our father, our mother are always alive, fully present in every cell of our body, and we can get in touch with him or with her at any time we want. Look at our hand. This hand we believe to be our hand. But if you look more deeply, you realize that this hand is also the continuation of our mother's hand. And our mother is fully present in every cell of this hand. Remember when you were a little girl or little boy and you had a strong fever, you suffer, you were miserable, and your mother came and put her hand on your forehead and you felt so wonderful. And when you have grown up, you leave, your mother is no longer there. Sometimes you feel the need of having a mother's hand on your forehead when you suffer so much. But because you think that your mother has died, has passed away, that is why that hand is no longer available. But according to the teaching of the Buddha, the hand of your mother is still alive. And you need only to look into your hand in order to realize that your mother's hand is there because you are there. You are still there. Because I am here. Your mother and my mother is also there. Mother, I know you are there because I am here. And then with that kind of awareness, that your hand is the continuation of your mother's hand, and your mother's hand is still available, you bring it slowly up and you put it on your forehead. And here is really the hand of your mother. You can have exactly the same kind of feeling of comfort. And he had learned these things in Plum Village. And his mother understood right away. And she sat down and she wrote that letter to her own mother. So the practice can bring miracles into our life. If you are able to cultivate the energy of mindfulness, concentration, and then you can get the insight that can help liberate you from your suffering, your afflictions, and at the same time you can help your beloved ones to do the same. I would like to reserve some time for questions and answers. Thank you for listening.
What about anger? I struggle with anger where I can't send an email or make a telephone call because I'm sure that it wouldn't get returned.
When you are inhabited by your anger, you find it very difficult to send an email to him.
No, if, for instance, say I were angry
At you?
As an example, say I was angry at the President of the United States of America.
Yeah.
I can send emails and I can ask for discussions, but it won't result in that way.
The President of the United States of America is also a person. And you can send him email. I'm sure. And first of all, you send that email for you. That is your practice. And if you wholeheartedly send that email, there will be a transformation in you. His transformation might take some time. But you have always to begin with yourself. Peace begins with myself. And if there are many people who do like you, writing him such letter, and then with that collective energy of transformation, he will be transformed, because he is also the product of collective consciousness. Thank you.
Dear Thay, dear Sangha, the seed of your teaching was planted in me in a small book back in 1971 that was published by the Fellowship of Reconciliation, a small book of poetry that I gave to my future husband, and recently discovered, stuck away in a basement. Just wanted to express my great gratitude for all your teaching. I have a question. My mother is over 90 now, and her life has been marked by a great deal of anger, feelings of separation, and resistance. I know she also has seeds of wisdom and understanding in her, and a persistent energy. She's been a student of Theosophy and Buddhism for over 70 years, but I think perhaps that it's been more theoretical, and she hasn't had the tools to make changes. She's lost a great deal in this last year. She's lost my father, her eyesight, her independence, and her excellent health. And I would like to help her realize what I do think has always been her aspiration to transform, but she hasn't been able to do that.
I suggest that you look a little bit more deeply, and you see that your mother is not only outside of yourself, but inside of yourself. You know that you carry within yourself, in each cell of your body, the presence of your mother. That is first suggestion, because your mother is not just what you see outside of you. She is inside of you. And with your practice, you can help transform your mother in yourself. And this is within your capacity, within your power. If you have learned enough of the teaching, and if you have got enough methods of practice, you succeed more. You do better than her, because her learning is more theoretical. Maybe she has not got a teacher or a Dharma brother or sister that can help you, can help her really transform the anger in her. But you are in a different situation. You have got a teacher, many Dharma brothers and sisters, and you have to succeed in transforming your mother within you. And that is a great achievement. And her transformation outside of you will follow. Thank you.
Bonsoir Thay, bonsoir cher Sangha, bonsoir les amis. Je voudrais exprimer des remerciements. Il y a quelques années, c'est moi qui souffrais et c'est moi qui vous ai demandé de m'aider devant la souffrance de ma maman qui ne pensait qu'à une seule chose, à mourir. Vous m'avez conseillé de pratiquer. Maman a arrêté de vouloir faire ses tentatives de suicide. C'est une véritable renaissance, une transformation totale. Et donc je voulais vous remercier de m'avoir aidé à transformer cela, aidé à transformer ce qui se passait en moi, mais également ce qui se passait avec elle. Alors quand je suis partie pour ce périple avec vous, maman m'a dit « Oh là là, tu pars de moi, c'est long tout ça ». Je dis « Oui, mais je pars avec Thay ». « Ah, c'est vrai ». Et elle était très contente de ce voyage, donc je voulais vous remercier pour ceci. Et la deuxième chose pour laquelle je voudrais vous remercier, c'est que je n'aurais jamais pensé qu'un jour j'aurais le courage d'écrire à mon député, Michel Vauzel, et que j'aurais l'audace d'écrire au président de la République, Jacques Chirac, pour lui demander de ne pas faire la guerre. Et je me suis souvenu que vous nous aviez dit que nous avions les politiques que nous méritions, et qu'il fallait leur écrire pour leur dire ce qu'on voulait et ce qu'on ne voulait pas. Et je voudrais vous remercier pour cela aussi.
Est-ce que vous pouvez traduire tout ça en anglais?
Dear Sangha, our friend wanted to express her deep gratitude to Thay for or the teaching that she received some time ago. Thay helped her to help her mother to transform, and that she had her mother had deep suffering, and with her own transformation, her mother was able to transform herself. And she wanted also to express her deep gratitude because she wrote to the to the President of the Republic in France and to some other men in politics, and that asking them not to do the war, to go to war. And so she wanted to express her deep gratitude to Thay.
Merci, thank you. Another question, please.
Dear Thay, is the practice with fear and anxiety and shame the same as the practice you taught about transforming anger?
Basically the same. All afflictions should be dealt with in exactly the same manner.
Dear sir, my mother and my brother don't get along. Every time they talk and they have discussions, they fight and have quarrel with each other. And the thing is, both of them think the situation can be improved. So, what do you think? How can I help them? Because they are, mother and son.
I think you should begin with yourself first. Practicing so that you become more fresh, more loving. And with that kind of freshness and loving kindness, you will begin to talk with one of these two persons. You help him, you help her to know that the other person, although having some weaknesses, but she also has a lot of good qualities, that she should be able to see all these kind of things. And the disappearance of such a person will cause her to cry a lot. And you try to water the seed of understanding and compassion in one person, and help that person to look at the other person in a different way, not ignoring the positive elements in the other person. And you promise with that person to help him or her to establish good communication with the other person. I believe that if you know the practice, and if you have enough freshness and sweetness and loving kindness, you can help both people. And when you can change their way of looking at themselves and looking at the other person, you help them to rediscover each other, like the way this couple, this mother and this son have. Don't count on them in the first steps. You count on yourself. You have to learn the practice. You have to become more fresh, more loving. And you have to know the practice. To know the practice of watering the good seeds in both persons and helping them to see more clearly. And only after that you can approach one person and help that person. And after having succeeded in one person, with one person you go to the other person. I'm sure that you will help them to reconcile and restore communication and happiness. Thank you. There's a question here.
Yeah. First of all, I want to express my gratefulness to you, and I found that your talking is very fruitful to me, and I'm sure that everyone here will benefit if they have patience to be here. And yeah, from my own experience, I have a question. It is about the seeds of fear in my garden, like you say. I find that the seeds of fear somehow go along with the seeds of anger. I mean, when there appear, the fear appear, that then come the anger. So I don't know how to deal with that seeds of fear. Even I know when it appears, and even somehow I know that it's only what I imagine. But I cannot get over it. Am I make myself clear?
Thank you. Fear is an affliction like other afflictions. And the foundation of fear is also wrong perceptions. there are many ways of practice that can help reduce our fear and even to totally transform it. If you know how to build brotherhood, friendship in our daily life, if you know how to generate more of that energy of compassion, we find out that the energy of compassion and brotherhood is a tremendous kind of protection, and we can reduce our fear because we are protected by our compassion, our feeling of brotherhood. And then if you practice looking deeply into the nature of reality, you find out that your notions of birth and death, being and non-being, are just notions that you have in mind. And the ultimate aim of meditation is to touch the nature of no birth and no death in reality. And having touched the nature of no birth, no death in reality, you transcend all fear. And only when fear is removed that happiness can be total, can be truly happiness. When you look at a cloud floating in the sky, and if you have sympathy with that cloud, if you are attached to such a cloud, you might get the fear that one day or this afternoon that cloud may disappear. And you want that cloud to be there forever for you. But the fact is that a cloud is due to be transformed into rain or into snow or ice. And one day the cloud will no longer be there in the sky. And because you are attached to a cloud, you have to cry. But if you practice looking deeply in the way the Buddhists used to do, and then you find out that the nature of the cloud is also the nature of no birth and no death. It is impossible for a cloud to die. To die in our mind means from something you suddenly become nothing. From someone you suddenly become no one. And that kind of idea about death make you scared, fearful. But in fact, it is impossible for a cloud to die, to become nothing. A cloud can never become nothing. A cloud can only become the rain or the snow or the river or the tea in your teacup. But a cloud can never become nothing. Your beloved one, who is alive now, she will not die. She is like the cloud. Her nature is the nature of no birth and no death. She can take other forms, but she will never die. And if you have the eyes of the Buddha, you can see that everything, the nature of everything, is the nature of no birth and no death. When you look into a plant of corn, you don't see any longer the seed of corn that has been given life to the plant of corn. But the seed of corn has not died. The seed of corn has only been transformed into a plant of corn. And if you have that kind of wisdom of no birth, no death, when you look at the plant of corn, you can see the grain of corn. When you look at the Son, you see the Father. And when you look at the Father, you see the Son. And learning to look like that, one day you'll be able to touch nirvana. It means you touch the true nature of reality, which is the nature of no birth, no death. The nature of being and non-being. The notion of being and non-being are also a concept that we have of reality. And touching nirvana, touching the true nature of no birth, no death, you also transcend the idea of being and non-being, because the notion of non-being is very frightful for many people. And that is why there are many ways of practice that can help you to remove fear. Cultivating love, friendship, brotherhood, compassion is one way. Looking deeply into the nature of reality and touching the nature of no birth, no death, no coming, no going is another way to remove fear. The monastics will offer a chant to conclude this evening. They will chant, may the day be well and the night be well, to wish all of you a peaceful day, peaceful night.
May all things be protected.